Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Of course. We're going to have a great show. Welcome aboard, May Wood from Long Beach, California. Paul Fleming Sr. is in the house from Atlanta, Georgia. We also have Reg MCP from Binghamton, New York, upstate New York. We also have E2247 from all over the place. And welcome aboard as well to Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. AV Cube, Michael Rutnan in from Brooklyn, New York. And did I miss anybody? So far? Let me scroll down. Breaking news. FBI says one person is in custody after ramming a car into the FBI Atlanta building. I saw that actually they didn't get to the building. They were actually summarily stopped by that big metal stuff that comes up to block cars. Seemed like it worked pretty well. British MCP says Biden can only do so much, but he can stop sending arms. You're absolutely right about that, and he needs to stop sending arms. E2247 says, wonderful news Sunday Turkish election equal three largest cities, Ankara, Izmir, and Istanbul saw resisted candidates win their races. Bad for Erdogan, who wanted retaking control of urban areas, especially capital Istanbul. That is exactly what I see happening here in the United States, and in fact, it's one of the stories that I intend to cover today. Here it is on the screen. Autocratic rule of Erdogan cracks as secular left wins big in Turkey elections. You open the door to the rise of democracy, equality, and freedom. Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu said following his re-election, you ignited hope at the ballot box. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan Justice and Development Party suffered its worst ever defeat Sunday when the country's main opposition party scored major wins in municipal elections, including in all five of the nation's largest cities. With nearly all ballots counted, candidates for the center-left Republican People's Party emerged victorious in Istanbul, the capital Ankara, Izmir, Bursa, Adana, and other cities and towns. Turkish media reported CHP victories in 36 of the country's 81 provinces. The right-wing Justice and Development Party performed best in the largely rural Anatolia interior. It was the first time in Erdogan's 21 years as Turkey's increasingly autocratic president that the AKP suffered such a nationwide electoral defeat. My dear Istanbulis, you opened the door to a new future today. Incumbent CHP Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu told jubilant supporters during his victory speech following what's likely to be a double-digit win over the AKP challenger. You see, that's the way we are going to win in 2024. It has to be a landslide. It will be a landslide because America are going to wake up. Americans are going to wake up. I know all my people that are watching right now, they're just thinking, I don't know if that's possible. It's going to be a close election. These guys have gone too far and they've shown who they are. It will be a line drive. It's going to be a big win for Democrats across the board. I'm not just talking the presidency. I'm not only talking the House. I'm not only talking the federal Senate. I'm talking about legislatures throughout the country. We're going to see the biggest turnaround in this country as Americans wake up and understand that the charlatan that is out there, that the orange monster, the evil orange monster that is now calling himself or making people refer to him as Jesus Christ incarnate. As people realize how crazy the Republican Party has become, they're going to figure out and say, my God, we have to break the trance. We've got to break the trance. And just like it has happened here in Turkey, just like it's about to happen in England, likely in January when they call elections, because the Conservative Party is so far behind the Labour Party in the UK. We're going to see a movement to the left like has started to happen, except we had a miss happening in Argentina where a crazy guy got elected. Right? When a crazy guy got elected. But don't worry about that. We are getting ready for that transfer coming very soon. Hey, how did that happen? I have the wrong screen on, but that's okay. What we're going to do is flip things around a little bit because that's my multi-chat screen, and I want to actually get this other thing here on the screen for you to see and move the multi-chat to the other screen that I'm looking at. I think I did it. So anyway, this is an article that I'm reading from Autocratic Rule of Erdogan's Cracks as Secular Left Wins Big in Turkey. And Pavo, Turkey is Pavo, but what is the country Turkey in Spanish? I don't remember what it is in Spanish, but I know it's not Pavo. Let me see what that is. I need to figure out what that is. The country Turkey in Spanish. I can't believe I forgot what that is. No, it's not the País Pavo. Pavo is not the name of the country. Let's see what it says here. Turkey, el País Pavo. No, it can't be Pavo. It cannot be Pavo. Let's hear. What is the name of the country in Spanish? Hey, my good friend, let me know what it is. I can't remember what it is, but my friend in Barcelona, Spain, Belal Kielen, what is Turkey, the country in Spanish? I can't remember it. Anyway. We're having a good time. Look at the screen that I have up now. That is how I create my shorts. It's cute, isn't it? Let me move that to the other screen as well and see if I can get to what I really want to show you. That's what I really want to show you. Autocratic Rule of Erdogan Cracks as Secular Left Wins Big in Houston. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Trouton in French. Okay. Turquía. I don't know. Maybe Turquía. Let's see. It could be Turquía. I think it's Turquía. Yeah, it's Turquía. Look at my girl, Bridge. I'm going to call you the honorary Latina. Okay, tú eres la Latina honoraria. You are la Latina honoraria right now in the chat. All right, but before I get started, I want to play a video, 20 minutes long. It's an interview, about 21 minutes. An interview I did with one of the women that are very much fighting this up. Let's see. Trump's media stock plunges after the company disclosed that it lost more than $58 million and generated very little revenue in 2023. The truth about Truth Social and Trump's finances. Oh, I haven't seen the report yet on that, but it doesn't matter because if they think he's going to win, the stock's going to stay high. If they think the only reason that stock fell is people are losing the hopes that he may win. But anyway, folks, let's go ahead and play the interview that I did with Adrienne Quinn Martin. I think you guys are going to love this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the program today. Today we have a very special person. Somebody's going to change the Democratic Party in Texas. Adrienne Martin of Granbury, Texas, stood up at her school board meeting and delivered a speech expressing her frustration at board members' willingness to cater to vocal extremists at the expense of facilitating a safe school environment for staff and students. Her clip went viral. She is the Democratic chair of Hood County, Texas. She is the recipient of the Freedom from Religion Foundation Award. Wait a minute. That's sort of a connection to the Reagans. Anyway, welcome aboard, Adrienne. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. First of all, let me tell you that you caused a ruckus in the entire state. I don't know if you realize that by finding a particular video that occurred with that organization. I don't remember the name. What's the name of the organization?
True Texas Project.
And the organization who actually was the speaker was the
Abolish Abortion Texas, I think. Texas, Abolish Abortion. Yeah.
That's it. Abolish Abortion Texas. But anyway, before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit more about you. We're going to tackle the video. We're going to tackle what it stands for. But I think what people need to be cognizant of is that for you to be successful in a positive movement, in something that's going to make a change in your state, you first have to engage. And what I've been most happy in seeing is that you engage yourself. First of all, what do you do?
For work, I'm a hairstylist.
And what is it that got you into wanting to become politically involved? Because that is what we want. We want everybody in every profession active. What got you there?
Well, I became more engaged during the Obamacare because one of my family members has what they call a catastrophic condition, and we were having just a horrible time with insurance and dealing with insurance and getting kicked off insurance because it was too expensive. And that's really when I started paying like a lot more attention. I always voted, but that's when I actually felt like, oh, I should get, involved in this. And then I moved to Granbury from the Metroplex in 2008. And that's like when the Tea Party movement and all that started. And that was pretty prevalent in Granbury. One of my hair clients said, you should come with us to the Democrat meeting. And I said, there's Democrats here, which is kind of like the response of everybody. Like I've heard that so many times since, but I said it too. And I started going to the meetings, and then the next thing you know, I was a precinct chair. The next thing you know, I was a vice president. And then the next thing you know, I was the county chair.
That is so important though. But you actually, you had a story to tell. You had relatives that had a healthcare problem. And in having that healthcare problem, you realized that politics was necessary to help and solve that problem, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, in that process, you became engaged. What did you do to become county chair to get more people in your area engaged? Because I imagine by seeing, one of the things that we notice is people need examples. In other words, you had to give permission to others that it was okay in a region that is predominantly red, predominantly Republican. You gave a lot of people a reason to say it is okay to be a progressive, it's okay to be a Democrat. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I just think little by little, I came out and got louder and louder. It just didn't happen overnight. When I first started getting to these roles, I was very kind of timid. I'm like, well, I agree with Republicans on some things. I was always trying to do like the both sides thing, which I see other people doing now, and just like, come on. But I noticed that the bolder I was in stating my principles, my values, the truth as I see it, the more positive feedback I got, which you would think it would be the opposite. But I find in general, a lot of people are waiting for somebody else to do something. And I kind of just started getting into that role more and more. And I noticed more and more people feel, and I'm not saying I'm the only one that's, but I can tell a difference that people get more courageous to say their views when they feel like they're not alone, basically.
You just stated the magic. The magic is when I talk about people having a place to land, people knowing that if they make the change that they know they need to make, both for healthcare, both for childcare, both for all these other things that we know are lacking in Texas and in many other red areas, people need that place to land. And I think having people like yourself go out there and do the work and be bold in doing the work, that actually makes the difference. And I think the Democratic Party has to do some listening to folks in these rural areas who are standing up and making a difference. Now, you found over the last few days, you in some of the scouring that you do over the internet and look at and doing the thing that you need to do, what I say is that progressives have to do the work themselves. The news media is not out there doing it for them. You have to be the news. You have to be the one searching for information. You found something, and that is what I gravitated and grabbed onto. What is it that you found?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but it also goes back to the book banning and the speaking at the school board meeting. We've got this group of what I call like extremist evangelicals, Christian nationalists, and they were pushing the book banning. The woman leading the book banning, her name is Monica Brown. She's been in the news a few times. Her every meeting that she goes to, she streams on her Facebook. So I regularly check in and see what's going on. And I had a girlfriend text me and she's like, have you seen this last meeting? And so I went on and I watched, and I actually started screen recording on my phone and kind of forgot about it. It was sitting, it was filmed in January.
I think it was January 24th.
Yeah. And then we had our primary elections, and a lot of the people running for office here locally were at that meeting. And at the very beginning of the meeting, it's not shown in the clip that's online. All the candidates came up to the front. Some of them asked questions that I showed in the video, but I wanted to highlight for my local people to see which of these candidates were at this meeting. So I put a video together that showed all of them, and I put it on Facebook. I said, look at what the Republican candidates are up to. And it got very little response. And then I was going back in the other day, I don't know what day it was, Monday, Tuesday. And I was like, I need to record some new videos. So I need to delete this stuff off my app. And that video was there. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to re-edit this a little bit and throw it up on Twitter. And I did. And then the next day it was like wildfire. It's crazy to me because that kind of rhetoric, it's not uncommon for us to hear that kind of rhetoric here. So like I said, I put it on Facebook, nobody really reacts, but then I put it on Twitter where it's got a national audience, and people were very, very shocked. I don't think that people realize where the Republican Party is going. And yeah, that is the mainstream Republican Party now.
And what is sad is that they were not coy in the statements that they made. They made it quite clear that the one thing they needed was Roe versus Wade overturned, and then the states could take it from there. And not only the states could take it from there, but that they would amass the force necessary to take it nationally. Just from the fact that our former president made sure to put Supreme Court justices there to overturn Roe versus Wade. Tell us some of the draconian things that they said at that meeting. And not only that, said forcefully that, they are on a mission from God. Tell us some of the things that they mentioned.
Well, this abolition movement, just in general, and I'm not an expert on the abolition movement, but I know a lot about Christian nationalism. They are Christian nationalists, along with most of the Republican Party. So basically what the abolition movement is, they want like that fetal personhood, that that an embryo or fetus is considered a
human
whole
being.
Person. Yes. And
with
then,
rights.
Right. That has to be protected. And then basically they're not happy. Like if you watch the full length video, like he calls out the pro-life movement. He is not happy with the pro-life movement because they do not punish women, because the women are not held criminally liable. And that's what they want. Like that's pretty much the goal of the whole movement, is that women would be held criminally liable for abortion and would be charged with murder. He says murder over and over again, which I think is interesting, instead of homicide. I don't think people get charged with murder, but he says murder over and over again, which is kind of telling. But what he considers to be abortion, and he considers abortion to be murder, he says that over and over, is Plan B, which he gives some amazingly false information about Plan B. And let's be real. When they say Plan B, it's all birth control.
Exactly.
The goal is birth control. So what they do is they
wait. Let's correct that for our audience. The role is to eliminate birth control. They want to make contraception a thing of the past.
Correct. I think so. They won't come out and say that, but when they say Plan B is an abortion, I mean, no, it's not. It doesn't qualify as one whatsoever. So to me, they're just pushing that. They push and see how far they can get in, and then they keep pushing, Plan B is an abortion, according to this man. Paul Brown is his name. He's the director of policy for that group. IVF, in vitro fertilization, which women do to help them have babies or families. Men use IVF as well. And then, of course, just the pills, like the abortion pills, and then any kind of abortion. They want anybody involved in the abortion, which is paying for it, driving, the doctor, the husband, whoever, everybody is charged criminally. But absolutely, the main focus is on the women, the mothers.
It is sad because, and that part as far that adds to the fire when he actually says that we want to make sure that the doctors are held liable as well. But the other thing is that incest and rape should not have any. There should be no exceptions for incest or rape. And what they also specify is that, well, guys make mistakes, and the child shouldn't pay for the mistakes that guys make. I was flabbergasted as I took your video and I cut it up so that I eliminated some parts so that it'll fit within the platform that we had. And as I am cutting, I'm concerned about how to cut to make sure I get the right context and not change the context of what he's saying. And it was difficult because these guys, people may take them as crackpots, but they have the support of Ken Paxton, who was on a podcast on this group. What's the name of the group? Texas, the True Texas Project. Their first podcast was with Ken Paxton, who is a friend of the group, who believes in what the group is doing, and who himself fought when that young lady here in Texas needed an abortion. He made sure and blocked it to the Texas Supreme Court. It is simply amazing. And what I think women like you are doing is not only your voice is going to be heard all over the state, all over the country, but more important to being able to be heard on these platforms is that the people in your own community, your rural area, and believe me, if a woman in a rural area speaks up, and it gives power to women in other rural areas to speak up and say, I don't have to be a city girl or a city woman to do this. I can actually stand up and get the job done. What you did over that I picked up on the weekend, I think I picked it up off of your Twitter that I picked up. It was like, this is something that we need to get out there.
Absolutely. People need to know. Like I said earlier, I don't think most of America, especially Americans living in blue areas, realize what Texas is already like for women that need reproductive health care. I mean, there is none here. I saw comments about people going back and forth arguing like they do on Twitter, and they're saying, well, rape and incest there's an exception. No, there's not.
No, there's not.
No, there is not. There's not an exception for age. There's not an exception for fetal abnormalities. And women dying? Probably. And it's women that are low income, poverty that you're not going to hear about. They're sending women home from the hospital and telling them they have to go septic before they can come back to get help. The doctors are afraid to give emergency help. And Kim Paxton sued, I think it's still in the courts, so that the doctors can't give emergency help.
Right.
I don't understand why that didn't get more attention. We have our sitting attorney general suing, I think, the Biden administration in order that Texas doctors so that we can prevent Texas doctors from helping women in emergencies where they need an abortion.
Well, let me tell you what, Adrienne, it's going to take women like you, and notice what I just said, women. It's going to take women like you taking the bull by the horns and going out there and getting your, like you did here, getting your face out there and pushing it, because the guys, we have somebody running against Ted Cruz right now, Colin Allred. I don't know why Colin Allred doesn't take a page out of the book of that woman in Alabama that went at it and won. In Alabama, she won her race in a red district to become a state rep. Whoever is going to really beat the pants off of these Texans that are anti-women, going to have to not be fearful, but actually go out there head on and support what women say that they want, what women say that they need, not what men say that they need, what women out there say that they need. So I want to thank you for what you are doing out there, and hopefully with this interview and with you continue being out there and getting the exposure, that more people follow in the path that you followed, to go out there and say, I'm not going to just take this sitting down. We're going to fight. The last question I always ask is, what would you have liked me to ask you that I didn't?
That's a tough question. I want people to know that Texas is not Texans. Majority of us do not support these policies, because you see people are like, well, they voted for it, that's what they get, and that's not most of Texas. Texas is a non-voting state. Voter apathy and voter suppression is what gave us the government that we have, and we're being ruled by an extremist minority. So sorry, that's not a question, but I think it's important for people to understand that, because I'm like, well, what do you think is going to happen if Trump gets elected? It's going to be Texas, but it's going to be the whole country, but it's already happening here.
Thank you so kindly, Adrienne Quinn Martin. And I want to add a corollary to that. What's occurring in Texas, they have plans to take it throughout the country, whether you're a blue state or a red state. They have rigged the court system such that the court system, which is anti-democratic, can actually overrule the will of the people in every single state. So the work that Adrienne Quinn Martin is doing is very important. She needs your support, and all women doing this kind of work need this kind of support. Before you go, I know that there is a convention in El Paso that you are trying to get a group of people to go to, but you guys would also like to be funded. Tell us a little bit about that before we close.
We have the Texas State Convention, and it is June 6th through 9th. So we got a little bit of time, but it's in El Paso. Like I said, we're in North Texas. So that's about a 10 to 12 hour drive. Or if you could take a flight. But we have 11 delegates. In Houston, you have hundreds, maybe thousands of delegates. I don't know, probably that. But we have 11. So we're a little tiny blue dot in a red, a sea of red. We're used to getting our voices kind of trampled on. So we want to be able to go to the state convention and have a voice and be able to vote for our county. So we're just trying to raise money to get our 11 people down to El Paso in June.
What's your website?
It's hooddemocrats.org. And you just go to the front page. If you scroll down, there's a little button, yellow button that tells you where you could donate. That's it. I mean, $5-10. So far, we've raised $210. So we're on our way.
Well, you know what? That is great. I'll make sure and do my part as well, do my little pieces. But look, thank you very much for what you're doing. I think Americans all over, from Texas right throughout the country, are proud to have women like you and the many others that are really fighting this juggernaut that's trying to get started. You guys are doing a good job. Thank you so kindly for being on. Well, Adrienne Quinn Martin, thank you so kindly for being on Politics Done Right.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that. I found her on Saturday morning, and she couldn't do the interview Saturday morning, but she said, I'll still do it on Easter. I'll do it on Easter. We can do it. And I said, okay, text me when you have the time to do it on Easter. And she did. Let's see. Michael says, sad, won't be here 20 minutes. Egberto, there's a couple of replies for Eric that I hope you read out. Okay, Michael Ronnie told Eric. Let's see what he told Eric. Para ver, Rodnin. I don't know what he's replying to Eric. Eric actually has a good Washington Post article. What defines the middle class? Egberto, one from the screen from Eric's links. Okay. Hey, look. So we got peace made between Eric and Michael Rodnin. I love that. That's who we are. This is what it looks like. And okay. American adults, 91% of American adults with health insurance and steady employment, 75%. Who can save for the future, 67%. Pay their bills and about without worry, 56%. Afford emergency expenses, 45%. And retire comfortably, only 35%. Meet all 6 criteria. That's not good. That's not good. That is saying that that only 35% of people can actually retire. The others are going to die working. Wow. Who can save for the future? 67%. I don't even believe that 67% number about saving for the future. Pay their bills without worry, 56%. Let me ask you guys something. Think about this. Does that really make any sense? It says 67% of the people can save for the future, but only 56% of the people can pay their bills without worry. If only 56% of the can pay the bills without worry, how can saving be at 67%? I don't know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the graph. Come on, folks, tell me. 281-823-7747. 281-823-7747. Okay. Eric K says, laugh when I said a landslide. Eric actually has a good article. Thank you for that. Carl Cox says, president of Turkey will not follow election results. Nazi Trump can still win because of his cult followers. No, there are more of us than the cult followers. What we have to do is get out there and vote, brother Carl Cox. And that's what we intend to do. This program and hundreds of other programs like this are going to get people out. All right. E2247 says genocide is a crime of all crimes. It's the purest expression of evil. It's a moral suicide. We must stand unequivocally with Palestinians. We must demand justice. I agree. Bruce Pollard says Truton in French for Turkey. All right. I'll take your word on that. But I know Turquía for Spanish. Boeing's outgoing CEO could get this is from Paul Fleming. Boeing outgoing CEO could get golden parachute worth as much as $45 million. The CEO before him got one worth $62 million on his way out the door in 2019. America has socialism for the rich, harsh capitalism for everyone else. I want you guys to understand what Fleming just posted. Understand this. This CEO, the current Boeing CEO, was a failure. He cut corners. He caused a door to blow out. That lawsuit from the door that blew out is likely going to cost more than $45 million when all is added up. But he gets a $45 million parachute to get out of Boeing. That is, and you know what's the worst part about it? Too many Americans think it's okay for there to be a class in our society that produces nothing, that creates problem, and can get a golden parachute. And if we say tax the holy hell out of that because they paid a failure, you'll be like, oh, we can't tax the rich like that. These guys are failures, but they get paid to be failures. If I'm an engineer and my bridge falls down, what do you think? I go to jail. These guys got people killed with the Max 9 or Max 8, I think it was. They got people killed because of their cutting corners. Michael Rodnin to Eric says, I've been saying that 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and that economic anxiety is driving a whole lot of desperation and insanity in our country. Just to be clear, during Trump's times in office, it was 77%. The economy is doing better, but not good for the supermajority of Americans. Exactly. Tom C. says, Trump's media stock plunges after the company disclosed its loss more than $58 million and generated very little revenue. But I don't know, for those people who bought the stock, The stock was worth $7 to $8 billion on revenues of $5 million. Same amount that similar valuation as Reddit. And Reddit makes over 500, I think actually over $800 million a year. People, madre mía, mis hermanos, ¿qué pasan con ustedes? All right. Let's see. Michael, I did that one already. Paul Fleming says, if I tell you a politician called the U.S. a failing nation as part of the Easter rant after selling Bibles and golden shoes to pay legal fees while waiting trial for 88 felonies, but the party of the family values and law and order stood by him, it's sadly not an April Fool's joke. No, it's a reality. These people are nuts. Eric Hayes says, in Texas, Dems are in control of Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, the place where people live. Right. The majority of people. Yeah. But because we don't have a true democracy, land rules. Rural Texas has precedence because of gerrymandering, etc. All right. Today lies are back in power. Yep, but we are going to fix that. Paul Fleming says Trump is out on bond ahead of a trial in 4 separate criminal cases. Today, he threatened the president of the United States. It's time for people with authority to do so to deal with him. Sure, he's the Republican Party's presidential candidate, but they won't rein him in, and someone is going to get hurt if he isn't. Yep, I get it. But you know, some people have privilege in this country. Some people have privilege, Paul Fleming. Let's see what else we got here. I'm scrolling down, folks. I'm scrolling down before the next video. Break-in. The Florida Supreme Court has ruled that voters can decide in November whether to make abortion access guarantee. I know they were the rule today. I haven't seen it as breaking news on MSNBC yet. Where did you get that information? Let's see. I just want to corroborate that real quick. Florida Supreme Court. Let's see what it says. It says all I'm looking at is it's set to make the decision. Supreme Court to rule on abortion. I haven't seen that the decision has been made yet. Do you have some information that I don't know about? I don't want to misinform more people, my brother. Do you have information that we don't know about, Brother Fleming? Because so far it shows that they're going to rule on it, but it hasn't shown that they've already ruled on it. And I want to make sure that people don't get the wrong impression, because if they rule as you say, that's huge news. I mean, big news for Florida. That puts Florida in play. Just doing this on her own is awesome. Yes, it is. She's a great woman also. Bruce Potter says, Mr. Paxton wants to enact the Handmaid's Tale. Of course, since I'm not a literary guy, I don't know what Bruce is talking about. I may have to do a scan on that to learn about that. All right. Eric Hayes says, everyone has something if you don't overspend. You know, it takes the amount of, and this is what I try when I talk to you about looking through other people's eyes. When you say everyone can save something if you don't overspend, what does overspending mean? What does somebody making $7 an hour trying to feed kids, etc., what possibility do they have of overspending? That is what privilege does to many of us, Eric. When you have the privilege to have always known that even as you may not be rich, you have a little pennies on the side. There are people who are always living in the negative. In other words, they don't have leftovers. Their leftovers is the food bank. Their leftovers is what somebody on the job, like I know people on my wife's job who would have, who she knows doesn't have something for a snack or whatever, and she goes ahead and go get something for them. Not for a thank you or whatever, or not even telling the person, I know you don't have it. Just saying, I went into the store and got this. Hey, here, you take this. Because we know they don't have. It's not about overspending. It's about not having. And the privilege is being able to look and tell somebody, everybody can save a little something. Yeah, that is what privilege gives you. Not knowing that there are people that forever live on the negative side. And unless you are, or unless you make the attempt to get out of your privileged condition and understand what our brothers and sisters go through, not only in the ghettos and the barrios, but in Appalachia, where they really don't have anything to save. My God, people, my God. Empathy. Hey, bro, I'm listening to going back to the conversation we had. They basically idolize that class because they hope they can be in the club. Exactly, Ray. Exactly. Not knowing that they will never, ever be invited in that class. And like I report often, and the reason I always use Oprah and Bill Gates, they want to use a white guy and a black woman in the billionaire class that people would think, and also Trump. If you think Oprah will have dinner with you over Trump, you're dreaming. You have to understand the dynamics of wealth in this country. And until you understand that, you don't understand the corrosiveness of what it stands for and how those who have it has turned them into psychopaths. Okay? All right, let's see. Bridge MCP says Egberto Willies, Handmaids Tale is a streaming series in a world where fertility rates have collapsed as a result of sexually transmitted disease and environmental pollution. The totalitarianism, taxonomy, the economy, government of Gilead establishes rule in the United States in the aftermath of a civil war. Society is organized by power-hungry leaders along with new militarized hierarchical regime of religious fanaticism and newly created social classes in which women are brutally subjugated. By law, women in Gilead are forced to work in very limited roles, including some as natal slave, and they are allowed to own property or not allowed to own properties, have careers, handle. Oh, Lord. Almost sound like we're going back 300 years, right? Or maybe not too far, 100 years. All right. You asked, how could 67% save, but 57 live comfortably? That is the overspending comment and explanation thereof. No, it's not. No, it's not. Again, the number says, who can save for the future and pay their bills without worry? The answer is not that. The answer is you can't pay the bills without worry, but some of it there are times you can save. That's the actual answer. But still, I think those numbers are a bit dubious. All right, let's see. Egberto, hey, Eric says privilege is being able to give to others. That is true privilege. I agree with you there. I agree with you. That's true privilege. Unfortunately, we also have a class where that doesn't apply. All right, Egberto, Willie, Supreme Court rules Florida's will vote on abortion access. The future of abortion access in the state is now in the hands of Florida voters. The Florida Supreme Court has ruled that voters can decide in November whether to make abortion guarantees right under the state constitution. The state's highest court said the wording in the proposed amendment fourth is all right. Great. Thank you for that article. Thank you for that article. And thanks for originally bringing that message to us, Brother Paul Fleming. The only reason I wanted to question it was because I'm looking at breaking news here, and I would have thought that would have made the breaking news and it hadn't yet. But this is only out 40 minutes ago. So thanks for that information, Breach and Brother Fleming. I think Brother Fleming brought it here first. Tom Sarnik says almost a third of working adults in the United States are carrying some kind of medical debt. That's about 15% of all U.S. households. This debt is also the leading cause of bankruptcy. And you know what? With my wife getting sick over the last few, we haven't seen the bills yet, but we know they're coming. She has insurance, but her biopsy alone before she got sick with the hospital was $27,000, of which I think they said we are responsible for $3,000-$4,000 that I don't intend to pay. I intend to make it a national case, because if they have already gotten $24,000 for the biopsy and want to extract some more money out of me, I'm going to make it a national case if they don't go ahead and say, oh, we made a mistake. Now, with her having gone to the hospital and spent some time in there, I will, Bridge, I will. Thank you. Spending that amount of time in there, I find it ironic that 2 hospital stays in 2 weeks, that is going to be probably over $100,000, of which they will want us to pay some. They can wait on that. Because again, I'm protesting what's going on here. Egberto, only pay some to the medical, they can't collect on you. I thank you for giving me that information. I was telling my wife that you'd said that, Eric. Let's see. Paul Fleming says that's where to fund the court information. Carl Cox says our American economic system is rigged in favor of mega rich corporations. MAGA crowd does not get it. All right. Hey, guys, I have one more video. Are we better off today than we were yesterday? Let's go ahead and play this by Chris Hayes, and then we'll take it on the other side. Trump likes to ask, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And the truth of the matter is, most people are better off today than they were 4 years ago. And here, Chris Hayes does a good job of pointing this out with respect to the coronavirus and a few other things. But I'll tell you something. One of the issues, well, we'll talk about that on the other side. Check this out.
Remember Ronald Reagan talking about Jimmy Carter?
Ronald Reagan used to ask,
are you better off?
are you better off?
Are you better off?
Are you better off?
Are we better off?
Not whether we're better off, it's whether they're better off.
Are you better off?
Better off.
Better off.
Better off?
Better off.
Better off.
Better off.
Better off.
Better off.
Better off.
Than you were 4 years ago.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? For nearly half a century, almost every candidate for president has asked the American people to consider that question before casting their ballot. Even Donald Trump, who really should not be asking that question, but he does. So let's take a look. This is the front page of the New York Times from 4 years ago, yesterday, March 27th, 2020. Donald Trump was the president. It was 2 weeks since everything shut down amid the outbreak of the newly diagnosed deadly coronavirus. Let's take a look at the headlines. Job losses soar. U.S. virus cases top world. New data shows staggering toll of outbreak. And this one, crucial, under Trump, unfilled posts hinder action. And then look at this at the bottom of the page here in yellow. Okay, that's a graph of like the weekly unemployment claims since all the way back to the year 2000. You can see how it goes along and it spikes a little during the Great Recession. And then we hit the pandemic, and that's 1 week. It skyrockets up the side of that chart. This was also the week Major League Baseball started the 2020 season playing games in empty stadiums. Even Las Vegas effectively went dark, shutting down the entire strip. Now, listen to how then President Donald Trump talked about the state of our country versus the real reporting from this week 4 years ago.
Breaking news tonight, the deadliest day and the running tally of coronavirus cases in the U.S. topping 100,000.
A lot of incredible things are happening. It's really happening. We're winning it, and we'll be bigger and better and stronger than we were even before.
Inside the epicenter in New York City, hospitals stretched to the limit. One doctor saying it's like a war zone. The state needs as many as 40,000 ventilators.
We've had great success over the last month. Millions and millions of pieces of equipment have been delivered successfully by us. The governors have been very gracious for the most part, I would say. A couple that aren't appreciative of the incredible job.
Governor Cuomo says the need is dire because COVID-19 patients can require ventilators up to 5 times longer than others.
This is a rescue mission.
Are you able to guarantee, to assure these states, these hospitals, that everybody who needs a ventilator will get a ventilator?
So here's what I'll tell you. I think we're in really good shape.
Everybody who needs one will be able to get a ventilator.
Look, don't be a cutie pie, okay? You know, everyone who needs one.
The governor of New Mexico requesting a combat field hospital as Army medical teams from Colorado and Kentucky deploy to hard-hit regions.
What we've done, nobody can even imagine. And by the way, I've had governors tell me, including Democrat governors, they said, we can't believe you've been able to do this.
This leaked memo from Henry Ford Hospital lays out worst-case scenario plans, including guidance on life and death decisions.
Michigan, all she does is she has no idea what's going on. And all she does is say, oh, it's the federal government's fault. All I want them to do, very simple. I want them to be appreciative.
Wants them to be appreciative. Remember that? So you tell me, are you better off today than when you were that week 4 years ago?
one of the problems that Americans have is they buy into the rhetoric. So Donald Trump describes his presidency, a presidency that never really was successful. He would tell people, remember, things were better when I was president. You have to remember, Donald Trump was handed a good economy from Barack Obama, for which he took down progressively. First, it stayed on the same climb that Obama was on for 8 years or 7 years or whatever the climb was for Obama. And he summarily, when the pandemic came, and even before the pandemic, as we've explained several videos before, even before the pandemic, he started the process of tanking the economy with the bad policies of giving away money to the wealthy class, leaving the other classes with temporary tax. This and look, it was terrible. There is a difference between the semblance of prosperity and real prosperity. The semblance of of doing something for poverty and actually doing something for poverty. In as much as it's really still bad. People living paycheck to paycheck has gone from 80% to 60%. I mean, it's not a good number still, but what we're saying is if you're really looking for effectiveness, there definitely isn't Trump policy, and you definitely aren't in the aggregate better off 4 years ago than you are today. And if you're believing that, that is believing the rhetoric, and believing that rhetoric could have you make a bad decision that you would pay for not only the duration of a Trump presidency if he were to succeed, but for likely a large part of your life. But again, like I said in several other videos, I think that he will be losing in a landslide.
We spend
absolutely losing in a landslide. Well, folks, we're coming close to the end of the program, which is the point of where I ask you to support the program. So for those of you who are listening right now, I want to ask you to please become supportive of the program. And there are many ways in which you can do that. The all-encompassing way is to go to politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. I have the link on all 3 channels right now, all 4 channels right now. Did it make it to all 4 channels? Yes, it did. Alternatively, you can become a patron. We're looking for more patrons. politicsdoneright.com/patron. We're also looking for more support via people who decide to become paid members of our newsletter. We'd love for you to become a paid member of our newsletter, which will give you access to read all of our books and subsequent books, not just the current books, but all subsequent books as well. Just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And of course, you can get our books at politicsdoneright.com/books if you just want to get a hard copy, Audible or whatever. My latest book is Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Racism Didn't Stop My Smile, Hope, Our Journey Forward. Please consider getting the book. I am sure everybody, whoever you are, irrespective of ethnicity, you are going to get quite a bit out of the stories that I tell in that book about the things the tribulations that I've had to go through and still went through it. And I must always say thanks to how I was reared at home, gave me that ability to do so. So please go ahead and support us again. politicsdoneright.com/books, where all my books are sold. And as well, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please become a paid member of the newsletter if you have the wherewithal to do so. It's inexpensive. It's like getting us a coffee a month. We're stuck right now, I think, at 72 or 73. It would be great if I could get to a couple hundred in a short while. But that, my daughter was asking me today about Substack and said, "Oh, that sounds like a great platform for people to reward your writing, etc." It is, but you just have to convince people that your writing is worthwhile to make a difference, which we know it is because we get the responses from it. So please consider again, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and become a paid subscriber. Remember, it's not, you get something for it. You get access to all my books. And every now and then I'll put a little perk in there as well for those of you who were kind enough to say, you know what, I can give Politics Done Right a coffee a month or something like that. That allows us to do what we are doing. Unlike mainstream media, that the advertising pay them and they're paid to many times misinform you. We're just what is the word I say? We are just loyal to you because, again, you are we the people. Anyway, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.